Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. In Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Before I continue with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I just want to let you guys know that today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by BUSR. So, Bears fans, the NFL season is officially upon us, and this season, I'll be placing my bets with BUSR. And you guys already know that I'm so confident in the Chicago Bears this season that I've already placed my bet for the Bears to beat the 49ers this Sunday with BUSR. When you sign up with BUSR, you'll receive 100% plus 25 casino chip sign up bonus. So Bears fans, along with that amazing benefit, any new user that uses the link that I will put down in the description of this video will receive a bonus that matches their deposit up to $1,000. That basically means that you'll be able to bet on Bears football all day long, and you already know that I'm going to do the exact same thing. Lastly, the best part about BUSR is that they have many additional features that include prop bets and prop builders, cryptocurrency rewards, over 300 casino games, and much, much more. So Bears fans, hit the link in the description of this video and start betting with BUSR today. All right, Bears fans, here we go. Happy Wednesday to all you guys. The NFL officially starts tomorrow with the Bills taking on the defending Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. I'm super excited to watch any type of real deal football, and it all starts tomorrow. Obviously, the Chicago Bears open their season with the San Francisco 49ers at home this Sunday. So let me know down below in the comment section how you are feeling. Are you pumped up? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Let me know the feeling right now as we get ever closer to that week 1 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. So to start out this episode of Keek on the Mic, I just want to inform you guys of some really good news as of this morning. As of this morning, Keek on the Mic is finally a little bit over 4,900 subscribers. We are 98. Let me repeat that. 98 subscribers away from me to be able to give out the Darnell Mooney signed jersey and the Cole Kmet signed mini helmet. Once the podcast hits 5,000 subscribers, if you're new to the channel, once the podcast hits 5,000 subscribers, I'll be giving out those awesome prizes to some very loyal and lucky Keek on the Mic listeners, and I am super excited to be able to do so. So once again, thank you guys so much for all the love and the support of the podcast. I've had so many people reach out to me saying, hey, I've been a fan since day one, and I really appreciate every single one of you guys, because without your guys' support, this podcast would mean nothing. It wouldn't be anywhere as it stands today without the love and support from you guys. So thank you guys once again. So super excited for today's episode of Keek on the Mic, and I think we're gonna have some fun. I think this is going to piggyback off the last 2 episodes of Keek on the Mic, how we were talking about how Justin Fields is ready to prove doubters wrong, and obviously yesterday on the podcast we talked about how Sam Musfer and Cody Whitehair came out and said they're ready to prove people wrong. So this is gonna kind of piggyback off of those 2 videos, and I feel like we've had really good conversations the last 2 days here on Keek on the Mic, so this will definitely add to the good conversations that we've been having the last couple of days right here on the podcast. So the report out of Chicago is this: Insider reveals why Chicago Bears are being slept on this year. And obviously when you look at that, the national media has been bashing the Chicago Bears all season long, and like I mentioned yesterday in the episode of Keek on the Mic, at this point, it is just all noise. Let the insiders say what they want. Let the national media say what they want. Let all the haters say what they want. Because just like Sam Musfer said in his recent interview, it's about the 53 guys that are going to have to go out there and prove themselves to the world. At this point, the outside opinions do no longer matter. So obviously when you look at the national media, though, ESPN has them in the running for the number 1 overall pick. USA Today thinks they will finish 3-14, which those are going to be totally separate podcast episodes. And then through all the talk, Bears coaches and players continue to shrug it off. Once again, we can go back to Sam Mustipher, Justin Fields, Cody Whitehair, basically saying, you know what? We hear all the talk, right? We know what people are saying about us, but it's our job to go out there and prove them wrong. If this offense, if this whole entire Chicago Bears team goes out in week 1 against the 49ers and shuts that 49ers team down, that's basically already proving people wrong, right? So that's really cool that through all the talk, the Bears coaches and players are able to shrug all the noise off. And from their perspective, they believe that this team has more to offer than people realize. That's another thing that we've been talking about. And when you look at this Chicago Bears roster, right, they still have several good players. And I think this is what Bears fans have been trying to tell people, the national media, right? This is what we've been trying to argue with people, saying, yes, we lost Khalil Mack. Yes, we lost Akeem Hicks. Yes, we lost Allen Robinson. And even though I loved all those players on the Chicago Bears roster, something that I like to say is that we were losing with those guys. They were all excellent players, but obviously Allen Robinson had a down year, only 38 catches, 1 touchdown. Obviously, Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks kept getting injured. They couldn't stay on the field. So we were losing with those guys. So obviously, Ryan Poles needed to come in here and bring in more youth, guys that are going to be able to hopefully stay on the football field and contribute for this Chicago Bears football team. But when you look at the roster, though, the Chicago Bears still have several good players. And then you also look at the other young players that we brought in that could possibly take the next step forward to make the Chicago Bears roster even better. To add to all of this, the new coaching staff, once again, this is something that we've been talking about all season long, and this is why Bears fans feel so confident that, for example, Justin Fields and the offense will take the next step forward, is that the new coaching staff has installed systems that fit their players' skill set, along with holding their players to high effort and intensity demand. So, obviously, once again, there is a whole new culture in Chicago, and that is kudos to Ryan Poles. That is kudos to, obviously, Matt Eberflus. That is kudos to all of the Chicago Bears coaching staff for instilling this new culture, this new expectation for the Chicago Bears players on this roster. So when you look at this new culture in Chicago, everybody plays hard and everybody plays smart and everyone is buying into this new culture. Obviously, we talk about this a lot, but Matt Eberflus has the hits principle that he likes. That means everyone runs to the football. Everyone is playing effort-based football. And I know effort can only take you so far. Obviously, you need talent, but what Matt Eberflus, what Ryan Poles are trying to accomplish here in Chicago is producing their young talent, developing their young talent, right? It's already happened with Braxton Jones. Obviously, you saw it with Tevin Jenkins. And I feel like that is going to be the culture in Chicago. That's going to be the new norm in Chicago, is bringing in these young players that maybe didn't make it with their old teams, and they're going to try to develop them to hopefully become something special here in Chicago. So it's a definitely culture shift in Chicago, and I absolutely love it. And this is where we get in the bulk of the podcast. NFL insider Peter Schrager explained on Good Morning Football that he thinks the Bears have things figured out, and they know who they are and the direction they're going. These are exact words he had to say. Check this out.
The Bears signed Alex Leatherwood 2 days ago.
Let's go!
And it was like, here's the Raiders cut this guy, 17th overall pick. And, we roll around, the Bears must be terrible. They're signing Alex Ryan Poles gets on the podium yesterday and says, I think the big thing is going back, a talented player, physical player. And he goes, forget the draft pick thing. That's over. We're going to give him an opportunity to develop and grow. We're going to give him a home. And you hear that and you're like, well, that has the 17th overall pick out of the draft. And even if that was an overdraft, he was probably a first or second rounder. This Bears team is a lot of that, and I can get behind that.
Go on.
Develop and grow. And Ryan Poles is a first-year GM who is 36 years old and has a first-year coach. And that man right there has no expectations of the Super Bowl this year. But if you listen to the rest of that press conference, and I almost feel bad that the viewers at home right now didn't get a chance to hear the whole thing, he's like, Darnell Mooney is balling right now. He said that. He is balling right now. He's like, have you seen what we can do with Velus Jones? These are not household names. Mooney and Velus Jones and Cole Kmet. But there is a youthful exuberance to this Bears team right now, and I might rue the day that I said this, and it might not be this year, that I feel like the building blocks are being put in place. When I talk Giants, it's like, All right, it's Daniel Jones' last year as a Giants quarterback. Saquon, all right, maybe he can have a comeback.
It gets
season.
heavy.
Kenny Galladay's still in the Giants? Oh, wait, they just cut their captain from last year, Blake Martinez, and he was only making $1 million. Like, I feel like with the Giants, it's this heavy cloud of Gettleman and what the pass regime was doing. And they're broke as a team right now. They have no money under the salary cap. And the draft picks, we got to see. Like, there's this feeling of, okay, we still have to get out of something. With the Bears, it's like, we are at ground zero. Let's build this thing and develop and put a little sprinkler on it, a little water. Let's see these flowers blossom. Giants, it's like we still are in this teardown mode. I would say the Bears have a better thing going on right now than necessarily the Giants. And that's just from the outside looking in.
And I absolutely love what Peter Schrager had to say there. And Peter Schrager is like the first insider that instantly didn't just bash the Chicago Bears, saying, you know what, the Bears have the worst roster in the NFL. He agreed. And he even said on Good Morning Football that the Bears have things figured out. And obviously you saw that he compared the Chicago Bears to the New York Giants. So the New York Giants are kind of like, all right, they have Daniel Jones, are kind of going downhill. But the Chicago Bears, they tore everything up, and they still have good talent on the roster, and they are trending upwards. They are better set up for the future compared to a team like the New York Giants. And no, Peter Schrager isn't saying the Bears are an obvious threat in the NFC, but he thinks that they shouldn't be taken lightly. And I totally agree. A lot of Bears fans, including myself, have been saying that for a long time, all offseason long. Everyone just sat there, everyone from the outside looking in that doesn't know much about the Chicago Bears, right? They're saying, oh, you guys lost Khalil Mack. Oh, you guys lost Allen Robinson. You guys lost Akeem Hicks. You guys are going to be terrible. You guys didn't do enough around Justin Fields to make sure he takes that huge leap from year 1 to year 2. And I can sit here and agree that, no, the Chicago Bears aren't the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Los Angeles Rams or even as good of an organization as the San Francisco 49ers. But that doesn't mean that the Chicago Bears are going to be terrible this season. And this is one of the reasons why I don't think they're going to be terrible. This Chicago Bears team, once again, going back, they now have a culture, kudos to Matt Eberflus, and this Bears team has an identity for themselves. And that can go a long way. And I know I talked about a lot of this yesterday in the last couple of days about how the Bears team as a whole is ready to prove people wrong. But you know that this Matt Eberflus-led bunch is always going to be prepared to play. It does not matter. It does not matter who is out there for the Chicago Bears playing on Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays. They are going to come prepared and ready to go. They are going to push opponents to the brink. I truly believe that the Chicago Bears will never get blown out because that's how hard they're going to prepare, because they practice at 100%, so that's going to translate to the games. It's just a new culture that Matt Eberflus has brought to Chicago, and I absolutely love it. And another thing, Peter Schrager said this in the video Good Morning Football. The Chicago Bears have some solid pieces in place. Obviously, when you look on the defensive side of the football, you have Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. You look on the offense, Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, and obviously Justin Fields. So for the people that are saying that the Bears are just a terrible football team, Peter Schrager said it. An insider said it, is that the Bears know what they're doing. And that's kudos to Ryan Poles. Obviously, people have been bashing Ryan Poles a lot, but Ryan Poles has done an excellent job of setting this Chicago Bears team up for success in the future for years and years to come. Not just a 1 year stand where we go 12-4 1 year and then 8-8, 8-8, 8-9, right? Ryan Poles is setting this football team up for future success. And Peter Schrager, NFL insider, notices that, and that is kudos to Ryan Poles. And obviously, these are solid building blocks for the Bears to work with. And yes, I'll say this firsthand as a Bears fan, this roster is far from complete. But I feel that there is enough talent to keep the Bears competitive this season. Once again, the Bears have talent on their roster. It is now up to the coaches, Luke Getsy, Alan Williams, Matt Eberflus, all the other coaches on the Chicago Bears roster, to put their players in good situations. And that is one huge reason why a lot of Chicago Bears fans, including myself, think that the Bears will take that leap this year, is because we will have better coaching. We will be more disciplined. We will put players in better situations. Overall, it is just better coaching for the Chicago Bears football team. And once again, if the younger players can step up, if Braxton Jones steps up and plays really well at left tackle, if Tevin Jenkins, if Larry Borum plays really well at right guard and right tackle, and that offensive line is set, the Bears will be better than expected. If Justin Fields takes that next step as a young player, the Bears will be set. If Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet takes that next step, the Bears will be in a good situation this season. And I truly think that will help the Bears be better than expected and prove doubters wrong. Overall, I'm really happy that at least one analyst has finally realized that Ryan Poles has the Bears in a positive direction. I think that has been the most frustrating part, is that people haven't been giving Ryan Poles enough credit of what he inherited and what he was able to do with the crap roster that he was left with by Ryan Pace, right? So huge kudos to Ryan Poles for what he was able to do with this roster, and he has the Chicago Bears pointing in the right direction. And then once again, kudos to Matt Eberflus and the rest of the coaching staff for bringing in a new positive culture that all the Chicago Bears players on this roster have bought into. And hey, enough talk, right? It's time to go out there and prove yourself to the doubters. And like I said, I'll say this a million times until I'm blue in the face. I am really confident in the Chicago Bears football team to go out there and prove doubters wrong. And I am just super excited for this Chicago Bears football season. And it all starts this Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers at home at Soldier Field. And I am super pumped up. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You've been listening to Kick on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.